Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I'm your host, BMR. I have a great show lined up for you. Tricia Brown is joining us. And you know, I got my lovely co-host back for at least the month of December. Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. Go check her out. Subscribe to the Cryptid Huntress on YouTube. If this is your first time here, please subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that alert bell. Share us out. You can find us on YouTube at Texas Front Porch and Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. We're also on Odyssey and iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and wherever podcasts are found. Also, we are on KPNL Radio. Thank you to the lovely Aunt Selene out there in Oregon. Find us on Facebook at Texas Front Porch. Gmail at Pair of Cryptid Encounters or beyondbmr@gmail.com. I do take subscriber encounters that I air on my show. Don't forget to subscribe to Texas Front Porch and Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube, and of course the lovely Jessica Jones, Cryptid Huntress. If you like and want to support us, the super chat is open long after the show ends. The super thanks is always open. Go ahead and give a donation if you care to. Check out our channel's about pages and descriptions. Gives us all the links to tonight's show or this afternoon's show, as well as upcoming events. I'm going to bring up Jessica here and go over our schedule really quick. Jessica, good to see you.
Hey, Rob. Thank you. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. And we'll get into a little conversation here in a second. I do have to make mention, Mondays, Texas Front Porch, 7:30 in the East. Tuesdays, Van Buren Variety, 8 o'clock in the East. Beyond BMR, 9 o'clock in the East. My new show, it's taken off last Tuesday. Brian Bowden, we talked about the multiverse. Go check it out if you haven't. It's free on the archives. Also, Jason McLean does something called Mysterious Library on Untold AM Radio. Go check him out as well at 10 o'clock. So a lot of things on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, 9 o'clock in the East, the Serial Papers. 10 in the East, Jason McLean Questions Everything. And right back here on Thursdays at 1 o'clock in the East, right around lunchtime, BMR, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. Tonight, the Blondes and Booze are on at 9 in the East. And you know what? If you like the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo, well, that's the name of the new show that we broadcast now on Friday nights. That's at 9 in the East. And, of course, the talented Jessica Jones, Spaced Out Radio on the weekends. You can find her over there with Dave Scott, 10 o'clock in the East, Saturday and Sunday. And Jessica also has some other things going on. And, you know, you got a daytime show. You do your readings. You give out great advice to people on your little 10-minute videos, which, you know, every time I wake up in the morning, is kind of like my therapy. I listen to Jessica Jones and her message as she sends. I love that, too. I'll check her out. How you doing?
Thank you, Rob. I try to keep it positive, throw some good vibes and rainbows out there, you know, other than just all this remote viewing stuff and Bigfoot and Dogman. We got to balance all that out with some love and light.
You do have to balance it out. You know, like this show is kind of a Bigfoot show, Dogman show, Cryptid show. Then that's why I do the BMR show on Tuesdays, because it's still about high strangeness and weirdness. It's about aliens. It's about time travel. And again, so we try to break it up, and then we got other 8 shows. And so, yeah, we try to branch it out, and because people just don't want to hear Dogman all day, do they?
Some people do. I like Dogman a lot.
I love it.
I think Dogman's awesome.
I love it. But to do it every single day, we try to break it up, because I also think it all comes full circle. And that's what we try to do across the board on our channels. And speaking of full circle, Tricia Brown, her link is in the description page on my YouTube channel. So after the show, go subscribe to her Facebook and her YouTube. I'm going to bring her up in a minute. And Tricia Brown, how are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Thanks
for having me on the show. I'm excited.
I had a cancellation. I normally don't get cancellations, and I just don't. And so I had someone scheduled for today. But you know what? It just so happened that we became friends on Facebook, and I looked up the last show a couple days ago you were on. And I got the link again in the descriptions, and I found it so fascinating that I said, you know what, I'm going to take a shot in the dark and call Tricia via Facebook. And here you are. And I can't wait to get this show started. And before we do, why don't you just walk through what you're all about, a little bio, if you like, and we can get rolling.
Well, first of all, I want to say when you guys were talking about that there's many different types of experiences that we could talk about. I have more than just Sasquatch stuff that we could,
nice.
talk about too.
But we'll delve into it.
So I'm, it's like I have years of my whole life. I've been having mystical experiences. That's just what I started calling my experiences some years ago, because they're experiences beyond the norm, but there's like an upliftingness to it. There isn't anything scary. I mean, I've had some kind of scary experiences, but mostly really up in the rainbows and unicorns, like you were talking about. And I've learned over the years, my studies of mind, body, spirit connection, and my just years of gaining knowledge on so many topics of the afterlife, paranormal stuff, mind, body, spirit, fitness, wellness, psychology. I got really into personal and spiritual growth things over the years, lots of classes and workshops and schooling. I was able to recognize at a really young age that I had the ability to know things for no reason. Like no one said anything to me. I hadn't learned about it in a book or anything, but I would all of a sudden have like downloads of information about things that are considered ancient spiritual teachings that have been taught for thousands of years and talked about for thousands of years. And when I was starting at the age of about 2.5 or so, I started seeing fire, like where my headboard, like where the head of your bed is, between the bed and the wall. I'd wake up and I'd see fire, but there'd be like no burning, no sound, no smell, no crackling. And I'd stare at it and then it would just fade away. So, these are the things and then just different experiences in my life that just kept adding on, different precognition abilities and dreams coming true, and just lots of things that have to do with the unusual types of experiences. And so I just had a lifetime of gaining knowledge in all these different subjects. And I when people talk about what would you want to be when you grow up? I was like thinking about that. I wanted to be a parapsychologist. This was back before all the shows came out and, whatever. I remember when I was in 5th grade thinking to myself, I'm spiritual. I think I'm spiritual, but I don't know what that means. Mm-hmm. Very big feeling, strong connection to the native people. I call them now the ancient people of the land. These people that were there for thousands of years before any, interference. And so I took all my teachings over the years. I went to spiritual studies school in 2015. And then, prior to that in 2006, I just got really into learning psychic development, inner senses development, wanting to know what all my abilities are through meditation, through connecting to spirit guides. And I just started having more and more experiences, like inner experiences. I can hear message, like literally hear a voice, like as if there's a microphone in my head. I see flashes of like a video clip play out and, these different things. So it was, it's been a progression. I was in yoga teacher training and that was super spiritual. Came back out into the world and I was like, changed, you see things in a different light. And so you go back into the regular world and things are different for you from then on. So I just had an interest in really wanting to understand the metaphysics of things. I remember when the movie The Secret came out, and I was watching it, and I was like, I know this stuff already. Like, I had been already doing some of these things in my life. And so I remember, like, it was like Joe Vitale or whatever, Dr. Joe Vitale, and I was like, he had like his in PhD or whatever it was in metaphysics. And I was like, I remember thinking, I want to go deep into metaphysics. So I started to do that. And after my spiritual study school, it was in 2015, I now have my master's in metaphysics, and then many energy healing modalities. You learn a lot about who we are, that we're spiritual beings, on this, having a human experience here.
And let me just interrupt just one time for our listeners out there and the people in the chat. Could you kind of walk through layman's terms what actually metaphysics is? Because I know maybe some people don't know what it is.
Yeah, sure. So it's basically physics on a really small scale. So it's understanding that when you go smaller and smaller in the measurement of mass. So it'd be like, you can look at a microscope and see a cell. And then as the measurement of it goes down to a particle and a quark, all these things have been scientifically already known. And then it goes smaller to vibration and frequency. And so it's understanding the way that physics is, the way that metaphysics is, where like energy is drawn to like energy. And then I took it to studying from these master teachers called through Abraham Hicks. And they really go deep. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I love Abraham Hicks.
They are my best friends.
Tricia, we have a lot in common.
Yeah,
Tricia.
I was about to say, Jessica,
I knew it for some reason.
Jessica and Tricia can, control all the metaphysics and all the, but I love Jessica because I met her several months ago, and now she's got me on this energy kick, which I tell you what, it's helped see me see things a lot differently.
Good, because I have been really doing my part with bringing it to these subjects to help people.
Yes, me too.
Because you can have really amazing experiences. If you're out there in the woods and people are talking about that they're not they're the ones that are like having maybe the not good experience, and maybe it's that they think it's a bad experience because they're just not knowing that vocal is really a healing sound, but it's so powerful and they're feeling it in their body and they just think it's something scary. But really it's maybe the SASQUATCH doing a healing on them.
Yeah.
I mean,
I've wondered that. Yeah, I've actually wondered that before. And I've talked about that on a show about the Bigfoot language before.
Okay.
And I had a friend of mine who's a Reiki, a master Reiki healer who does light language and light codes. Okay. And we were discussing whether their language could be, it sounds scary to us, but could it be healing to us in some kind of way? Yeah. Yes. So it was kind of out there. I put it out there and I thought people were going to make fun of me for saying that.
Who cares?
I don't care.
I decided that when I was getting into these topics that I wanted to have experiences because I'm using these techniques. Not only that, through understanding metaphysics, because what I want to go into a little bit more. What I mean is that with our thought, we are creators on this planet. So when you speak and when you think, a thought is a thing. Yes. And so it is going to permeate out into the universe, and whatever you're thinking about with emotion is with strong emotion and a momentum of it, you're going to bring to yourself the next thought and the next thought that corresponds. So you're going to get what you're thinking about, whether you want it or not.
Mhm.
So it's a good idea to learn all these things. So I've been as best as I can passing this along, and not only with this topic, these realms of conversation, but also at the paranormal groups to just, I've really learned about energy work and helping people in their homes and helping people with understanding, it starts with you. You are your own point of attraction. We are our own point of attraction. So it's like that thing where a group of us can watch an event happen, and each one of us is going to have a different experience in that event. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So understanding, and if this is new, it doesn't mean it's not true. It doesn't mean it hasn't been taught for thousands of years. Just because it might be new to someone out there, it's not new age. This is like ancient.
Yeah.
And so
Very.
one of the things I've been talking about more is bringing in this, my wanting to learn from the tree people, the Sasquatch people.
Yes.
And then I'm having these, I don't know, realizations.
So
And
when you're talking about the tree people, we'll get into that just a little bit. But so everything that you've learned and you've studied, obviously that helps you out when you do your own research. It's probably tenfold.
Right, exactly. It's helped me in my life. It's helped me maneuver through this experience and that experience to better experiences and better and better and better experiences. And then I've studied shamanism, and I've studied, I listened to the elders. I listened to the medicine people discussing different ways of approaching nature in a reciprocity, in a way, in an approach when you're out, whether you're with people or in a home with people, or whether you're out in around these beings. I mean, so it works the same. It's a understanding the culture and understanding like how to be respectful as best as you can, because if you're meeting someone new that's maybe new to the country or new to, and that they're trying, you respect it, right? You know that they're trying to say the nice thing, and they may say it weird or do it right. But I've noticed that as I'm out and about, I've had experiences with, I call them the helping spirits of the world. That's the more of the shamanic term for like a spirit guide, or just a beneficial being that's out in the world, that if they connect to you, and they see that you're a good person, that you're being respectful, you're introducing yourself and all that, then you will receive help in some way, or they will let you know that they're there.
And we've heard so many times about researchers, and you're going out into the forest where Sasquatch, the tree people, as you refer to, Bigfoot, whatever terminology you want to use, when you are entering the forest, they already have a preconceived notion of what your intentions are.
Oh yeah, they're probably with you as you're getting ready.
Right.
Go out there.
When you're taking your shower.
They're like coming over to your house to check you out and stuff already.
I think so. I 100% believe that they sense that you're coming. And
I've been told things like, wear your rain boots. Not like really. I just felt inspired to wear my rain boots this one day. My literally years of hiking and backpacking, and never felt like wearing rain boots. Those aren't hiking shoes. And I teleported that day. Like for real, me and my animals teleported to a completely different part of the forest, and we ended up being in like standing water that was like 4 or 5 inches deep. And I'm like, well, no wonder why I'm wearing my rain boots. It was trippy.
So
that's nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes. You said, and like that, you made that. You mentioned early they told you, so that's like a telepathy, right?
Yeah, it was like a knowing. It was like when you're learning this stuff. I teach this. I have a workshop where I teach people about their inner senses. We all have them. Not just psychics. We all have we have our 5 physical senses, and then we have our equivalent inner senses. So when you're learning this and you're practicing it, you wonder, is this just me making this up? Meaning, like, is this just my own thought? Or am I receiving a thought from some other person or being or source energy, God, so the fact that out of the blue in all my years of not feeling like, I don't know. Okay. So yeah, you wonder, it's like, was this just my thought or was this, but it just seemed a very big coincidence that I teleported that day. It's not like I do it all the time. It's like the one time in my life where I felt like I should wear my rain boots because I wanted to go out to these particular woods to see if I could hear some vocals or owls. And I say that in air quotes, the owls.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I wanted to go in a time of evening that I had other experiences in different areas too. So I went out there and I thought I'm going to go off trail. And sometimes in this location, depending on if it had rained or not, there might be standing water off trail. So I thought maybe I will go explore in a location I haven't been to yet. That's basically it. And I did. I did. I went to a spot that I had never been, and it was off outside of the trails in the middle of not the trail system. Yeah, that happened for sure. So yeah, when you learn how to listen to your inner senses, it helps you.
Yeah, always go with your gut. And that's why I always tell people you got to keep your gut healthy. Okay.
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it gives you messages and you got to be able to receive those messages.
Yes.
And if your body is all junked up with stuff, you can't hear the messages come through.
Exactly. So I do also a combination of you do remote viewing. I've heard about you that you do remote viewing, and I was on with Thomas, and you had just been on right before I was on, and he asked me if I've had any remote viewing experiences. I have. I mean, it was very spontaneous, and so I've had that, and I'm like saying like I've had these different experiences, and I do distance healing. And so I've learned that you can, with the way metaphysics is, and this has already been proven in science, that a particle can be way somewhere else and I can influence it from across the world. I could talk to a planet if I want to. And I've talked to people who have traveled to different areas, so I've combined distance healing with this ancient color and sound therapy and kind of made it my own. And that is exactly what I do, is I teach people about understanding that releasing these hindering thoughts that are not helping them and hindering emotions, lower vibrational emotions, lower vibrational thoughts that are going to attract to you health problems, car problems, relationship problems, Bigfoot problems. And then so you learn like it's really a good idea to be in the higher realms of emotions, at least get above hope. Hope is a good start, but you want to be in positive expectation, passion, appreciation.
Yes.
And love. And so Abraham Hicks talks about that the feeling of appreciation is easier for us humans to get to that feeling, a little bit easier than trying to wrap our mind around love, because sometimes we humans have a hard time with that word, right? And so if you're out and about in the woods and you want to be present there, like look around you, appreciate the trees, like, wow, go touch a tree, like give it some attention or notice the wildflowers out. And then what that'll do is it'll produce in you this natural feeling of appreciation. And you're showing yourself that you can make yourself feel a way without having to have a condition come in to make you feel that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Gratitude, the attitude of gratitude.
Yeah, it does. And again, all these common themes go back to vibrations and energy. And you did mention something about your teleportation. Could you for the person that has no experience in this, and I don't think I've ever teleported myself.
Yeah, you would know.
You would know. So let me ask you, and this might sound, science fiction, but as you're going through this process, and you're moving from point A to point C. Let's say you're going from Dallas, Texas to Detroit, Michigan. Not that you want to go to Detroit, mind you, but I mean, are you like hovering above, or are you actually your physical being or physical energy is actually there experiencing this I mean,
Okay, good
I'm trying to
questions.
picture that.
Okay. So I literally me and my animals were suddenly in a different part of the forest. Suddenly. There was no like tunnel and light, you know, like they do in the movies where you're like, phew, phew. No, it was not like that at all. It was
Wow.
Sudden.
Wow.
And it was at night. And so, I mean, I'm an outdoors girl. I've been tromping around in the woods since I was a baby. And I have a very good sense of direction. I've been to school for understanding, you know, topography. And, you know, I was in the park management program at one time. I've been, you know, just really just a super outdoors person. So I knew something was weird. Like it just didn't make sense. Like I was like, so I was off trail just imagine you're on a dirt walking trail in a nature preserve, and like a Forest Service road size, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to go off trail in this specific location that me and a friend of mine had been doing a little bit of an experiment where we found a bucket and we put a bunch of branches in the bucket and left it there. He wanted to see if the branches would be moved around. I was like, okay, whatever. So for some reason, I wanted to go out to that particular location off trail. And when I'm walking on the trail and I was coming up to that spot, I noticed a branch stuffed into the ground. Okay. And that's one of the things that you hear about people talk about, these branches stuffed into the ground. Humans are not doing that. They have other things to do when they're on their hiking. They don't. So
usually.
And yeah. And in this, also the same area, lots of tree manipulations and weavings and, you know, leanings and just lots going on in this particular area. And that's also why I wanted to go to that spot. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go off trail right here where there's this stick stuffed into the ground, because I'm like, this is something. I feel like this is a marker.
That's good. Yeah.
So I went off, and I'm going to say, let's say I just walk straight. Let's just say I walk straight for like, I don't know, let's say 25 yards. I'm just guessing, you know. So I walked straight and I slightly went to like, let's say 20 feet to the left or to the right. Sorry. Okay. So I went straight 20 feet to the right. That's where I sat. I just stood there in the forest as the sun is like kind of doing its thing and coming down. And so nothing really happened. The insects started chirping in the trees. And I'm like, I'm going to order a pizza, walk back to my car, drive to get my pizza. Because that's how close I was to the car. And then to go get like a 20-minute total possibly situation to walk back, go get my pizza. Okay.
Okay.
So I start walking back, and I wanted to, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna curve, I'm gonna veer slightly right and straight. Just to, the trail was just perpendilar. It just should have been there's no way I could miss it. And I'm walking straight, and at some point in time, I just was like, these terrain, the trees, just something slightly different there. And I'm like, okay, I don't remember this little pine tree thing with the pine boughs, but I'm going to go under the pine boughs. I'm going to come out to the other side. There should just be a little embankment down, and then there's the trail. And so I went under the pine boughs. No trail at all whatsoever. And then there's this really tall fallen tree that was like 3 feet in diameter. And there was not that when I went in there. That was not there. No. And then there was this standing water, like 4 or 5 inches deep. And by now it's pretty dark out. And I'm kind of like, for the first time in my life, I'm like a little bit, I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, I do not want to be wandering in the woods all night. Like, I want to go get my pizza. So I looked out ahead of me, and I could see about 10, like, let's say a 10-minute walk out straight through the woods. I could see the headlights of the cars on the highway going back and forth. It was like a side 2-lane highway. So I'm like, I'm going to just walk towards the highway, and I'm going to veer left, because that'll maybe I'll get to the parking lot first, or I'll just hit the highway and then I'll walk back to my car. Okay. So you know what I need to do? It's like, you know how like in the missing 411s where he shows maps and like
clusters,
a satellite image looking down.
Yes.
And you know how the one where it's the little boy that they show footsteps in one location, and then the next time there's footsteps is like 8 miles away or something.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So imagine it like that. But I went like a quarter mile away to the right. Like I was way out of bounds, basically.
Yeah.
I got out on the highway and I was super far to the right. It just didn't make sense. I was veering left to get out, and so it just, does that make sense?
Tricia, intuitively, what do you think happened to you? Do you think you walked through a portal, or do you think that you maybe hit a timeline jump or something? What do you think happened?
Okay, so I've been thinking about that. So, so some ideas that I have is that I was teleported. It's possible that either that I was teleported, or that I went through like a bubble, like a bubble of a portal, like some
sort wormhole or something.
Doorway. And in an interview I had, she with Wendy Garrett, she said, because I'd been wanting to have the Sasquatch people teach me. I want to learn from you. And so in one of my experiences, I saw one. He was only partially materialized. So I think it's possible that they may have been showing me a way that they travel. Because in my studies of spirit, and now the Sasquatch people, spirit can just decide, the spirit is outside of time and space. So they can just think, I want to go there. So yeah, they can go from Detroit to, whatever in like a bam, right? So they don't have to go through a portal. There seems to also be portals. I've seen that with my eyes, this warbly sort of thing, and like spirits coming in and out from the wall there and all that. So I think it's that they could have. No, I don't know exactly, but it's that it's possible that they were that. I don't know if it's possible that they moved me and my animals all at once. I don't know. It's so trippy.
I got a question run by you too, because I do believe in portals. If you get to know me, I pretty much believe in a lot of these theories.
Well, it's not a theory. It happens.
It's
a reality.
Yeah, we have one documented with my team. We've documented a portal.
Really? Yeah, and so has the reality is Dave Pilates. If I say his name wrong, but.
Well, the reality is, and I do say it happened, because what I'm going to talk about is more of a theory, right? It's not something that actually happened, but I want to know what your perspective is on like the quantum theory.
Okay.
Where, mass, we're all made of mass. We can convert it to energy, right? Let's say you're at point A.
Yeah.
And 5 miles away, we have point B. So when you can convert your mass into energy, and you can always end up traveling through that energy from A to B. And I hear of a lot of people that say, we hear this story all the time, and later on in the show we can get into a lot of your experiences with Sasquatch, is where that all of a sudden I heard a story of a man who had whoops was being vocalized at him from 100 yards away.
Okay.
The second whoop got a little bit further, and by the third whoop, it was 2 miles away, and it faded, but it traveled so fastly.
That's cool.
And during this whole process, the light orbs flickered, and he could see him in the distance. So my question to you is, that mass was converted to energy, formed an orb, and traveled, boom, to the other side.
I wasn't there, so I can't.
No, I'm asking your opinion on it. I know you weren't there. We're just asking what your thought is on that.
So the only way I can answer it is based on my experiences and my studies, my years of understanding what spirits can and cannot do. what we as beings can and cannot do, the laws of our universe and things like that. And I think that they can just go in and out of a dimension just because of their abilities, what their knowings, of their understandings of how that their abilities. So they can, and I don't have all the answers really. I mean, I can, as we go along, I can express as I tell my story, as I tell my each experience that is pretty unique. And through me telling some of the unique stories, it might help explain, I guess.
Yeah, and I get that. It's not,
Yeah.
I just, a lot of things about this show too, is we like to talk and throw things out there that we don't know, because none of us
Yeah.
of us are experts. But when you have these incredible things happen, it's just, wow, it gets the brain really.
Oh yeah, I've definitely spent time doing my best to wrap my mind around it. I don't worry too much about the science behind it. I've done as I have wanted to do my best to teach people about metaphysics, I have listened to physics lectures. So if I want to add a word or something so that people can understand that the stuff that they're saying is the same as metaphysics. Metaphysics is just a smaller scale of matter.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's all I can say at this moment. But like, as I go, I mean, you know, there's been other people's stories where this lady was leading a hiking group in Sedona, and they saw her cross a rock, and then she disappeared, like just out of the blue. She was not there anymore, and she could still see them, but they could not see her. And then she came back over, crossed back over to the other, back to that whatever rock or whatever, and there she was again. So that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, we've had similar things happen in the field like that, where someone went into what we consider to be a portal. This is, besides the portal that we have documented, this is another time where some people, he just disappeared in front of everybody, and then he came back out and he reappeared again. But yeah, it's just like that story, but this was at nighttime. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then this guy was telling me that there was a lady that was hiking, and she traveled like 7 miles. She was like all of a sudden like on a horse farm or something. And I don't know where exactly in the States that she was, but she went up to the horse farm and said, like, explained what happened. And they took her to the police station, and they completely believed her. They're like, oh yeah, stuff like this happens here in this town. So, you know, more that you do your own research, you understand that there's just people out there that this happens to. And it might be, you know, I know that sometimes people just want to like dismiss it. But when you start you learn how to have experiences like this by what you're thinking about. And, you know, then you can start. I mean, it happened to me. I mean, I was out in that same forest, and I spoke out loud to the space. I talked to the trees. I imagined, you know, the roots going down inside the ground and connecting to the entire planet. And I was basically speaking to the entire planet, to the SASQUATCH people, saying, thank you for being with me in my life. And I appreciate it so much. And I would love to be friends and know you more and learn from you and maybe help you in any way. I started crying into and I swear to you, like very soon after that is when I started hearing the man yell vocal that I can talk about later, and the owl calls, like very quickly. And I've heard this man yell sound in across the state, like 2 different parts of the state and way over across the United States, the same exact tone. So I definitely would like to get into at some point discussing that exact tone and how it correlates to the heart chakra.
Yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. I would too.
And which state do you live in, Trisha?
Right now I'm in, my home base is in Alabama, like central Alabama.
Hey, I'm in Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
So I also go back and forth to Pensacola, Florida area to do animal house sitting. So I'm getting a chance to live in both areas. I lived in Georgia for 4 years, and I've traveled all over that state checking it out. So
good. Well, Well, I do Bigfooting in Alabama sometimes, so we'll have to meet up.
Oh my
Yes.
God. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's
And,
do it.
Yeah.
and everybody, we have Tricia Brown. All her links are on my channel page, Bigfoot Mr. Rod channel. Go check her out. A lot of great stuff. I went through a couple of your work, and I'm it's a pleasure to meet you for the very first time
Well,
on the
thanks.
show. And
And you
thank you
guys
so much.
too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So what else? Ask more questions.
Well, I'd like to hear about
Answers.
the tone with the heart chakra resonation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can get into that.
Okay, so when I don't know, there was a time frame where I'm just saying, like, it seems that things have been reactivated. Like, I'm hearing more from them again. I'm like suddenly getting more messages and being interacted with, and more like puzzle pieces of my experiences coming to me. And I definitely feel like they're teaching me and having me realize some things where it's correlating to this. Okay. So, when you hear vocalings, it's usually, you can just imagine it right now, the different vocalings that people are hearing out there. Mine, the one that I'm hearing, it sounds like let me just say, okay, so in my color and sound therapy, I use tuning forks over the energy centers of the main energy centers of the body, so that I can help harmonize and repattern the way that the energy center draws in the life force energy into your body to keep you healthy and well. Because they might be clogged up with bad experiences and trauma and, lots of thinking about not good things. And then it's drawing to you, energy that's not healthy. And so it can clog the way that, I can go into more detail about that later. But so each chakra corresponds to a tone, like a vowel sound or a sacred sound, like ah, like that, or e, or I, or om, depending on the area in the body. Okay. And that my tone is making a frequency that is also tuning the health, the wellness, the harmony, the metaphysics, energy, healthy like energy is going to help bring more positive energy to that space. And because of physics, something that doesn't go has to move away. Does that make sense? You know that.
Oh, yeah. Get out of here, bad vibes. Yeah.
So when I do this work, I'm calling in the energies of love, light, and healing, and Metatron, and some other very good, powerful, positive beings to come help with the healing. And then the tuning forks, I correspond to each heart chakra or each chakra. And in the heart chakra, which is like the center of your chest, it's the F sound for the tuning fork, the color green, and the voice, the tone is ah, like AH, literally AH. And so it had an epiphany. So when I was on a podcast called My Bigfoot Sighting, and I'm describing this, I call it the man yell, and I do it. It's like, but like a man, a deep voice. And it's a certain length that it'll do it. It's kind of a quick one. It's like, and that's it. And so this guy commented that he has heard it, and he typed it out, AH, like AHHH. And all of a sudden I had this like, oh my God, that's the exact same spelling as the tone for the heart chakra. And the more that you get into the subject, if you're into this type of understanding of these beings, that they're very, the heart is talked about a lot with them. They know your heart. They know who you are. You know, it's, you know, being a good person in yourself, like looking inside yourself and knowing that you're having a strong conscience. So they seem to be very heart-centered. I hear this over and over again with different people talking about this. So then when I had this realization, I just thought it was very interesting. So I brought out my chart to show people, you know, the chakras and the tones and the notes and all that. So I just think that there's something correlating to that. And so other people are now coming out and telling me I've heard that too. Like a couple other people have said, I've heard that exact same tone. So I think that there's something to do with it. I don't know exactly what. It's still, you know, I'll let you know when I find out.
Yeah.
But I've heard the same exact tone in 2 parts of Georgia. Ellabelle, Georgia was the first time I heard it.
Okay.
Some land. The second time was it literally in my neighborhood. Like there's a forest that divides these 2, what do you call it? Subdivisions or whatever. I heard it in the woods between the 2 subdivisions, the same exact tone of voice, same man yell type thing. And then when I moved to Montana in 2020, I heard a man yell call and then a man yell response call.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just really interesting. You know, when you're having these
is.
experiences, you're feeling like, it makes me feel like when you're a kid and you're in this, you know, fairy tales and magic and, you know, watching movies where you're like, man, I would love to ride the dragon from the Neverending Story and whatever.
Thank you.
Yes. And then like when you find out that there's these forest beings out there that are pretty magical, you know, that, and then you experience my experiences, meaning the way that they have been connecting with me. They are letting me know that they're there. And so, I'm just saying, I can totally start tangenting, but like, I'm just saying that's really kind of like what I have to say about the heart. What I've been like in my now research, in my now tuning more into what more might I learn about the awe. Are they doing, I feel like when I've heard people say that when they hear it and it's so strong that it vibrates in their body, I really think that they may be helping that person. I've really been tuned into the stories where they're of help to people, that they do healings.
You know, I gotta stop you just for a minute, 'cause I want to ask you something for the second half of this show, because when you're talking about the vibrations and the energies, what you're wonderful. Thank you. I'm learning so much.
Okay.
I had an encounter.
Okay.
And you're the first person I've had on that can probably help answer part of this. I do not like talking about myself on a show. I don't.
Do it.
But
let's do it.
But some of the things you said are kind of triggering thoughts in my head about what happened to me.
Okay.
I don't want to get into that now. We got about 4 more minutes because we have to take a break, and we're going to have to say goodbye to Odyssey Radio and iHeartRadio and you folks on the radio side. But those folks on the radio side, KPNL is still rolling. You subscribe to Bigfoot Mystery Rob on YouTube or Texas Front Porch to pick up the second half because you don't want to miss it.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to continue on, everybody, Tricia Brown, you can find her links in the description on my page, my channel page.
Yeah, come say hi to me.
Come say hi. I'm so grateful I found you. Like it was luck. I had a cancellation. Here's Tricia.
Yeah, I was meant to be.
Yes, it is. I believe in a lot of that stuff. Until I met Jessica, I really didn't. Right, buddy?
Of course.
So we got about 3 minutes, Trisha. Why don't you continue on or pick up wherever you want to go with this?
Okay. So I would say, like, you know, when we were talking a little bit about understanding about, I'm just going to tell a little bit about health stuff, is that, you know, it's important as best as you can to be being positive in your life and as best as you can reach for positive thoughts, because you will have better experiences in your life. And, keep doing it. Don't say, I give up, it's not working. Like then you're setting yourself up for not working. So just watch for the evidence. Well, I've seen the evidence in my own life, like really say, I want to do this as an experiment, then I'm going to watch for evidence and you will see it. And I've been seeing it in my own life. I'm a real life person here.
Yeah.
Being with, so I'm proof.
You're definitely flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trisha, you know what's
teleport, apparently, and
Yeah, you know, I
hey,
know.
that's
my parrot
superhuman.
and dog.
Yeah, that's, you know, you're a superhero.
That is. Well, now Trisha, I come from a team of Bigfoot field researchers who are all trained in remote viewing together as a team.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Well
we have
fun.
a big team of us, and we're like family with each other, and we're all very spiritual beings, you know, and there's no
You're like my
coincidences. Yeah, we're all, yes. You seem to be. I think we're going to be in the same soul tribe here, Tricia. But yeah, it's, you know, we have a very unique experience when we do go out into the woods, which we've been doing for many years, and we go out there. That particular group, we go out and our goal is really to communicate with the beings out there.
We are definitely talking.
It's not to snap pictures. Yes,
exactly.
Absolutely, and
experimenting or experiencing.
Yes, and
experiencing. That's exactly. So, you know, a lot of teams will go out, and I'm a part of other teams as well that get all the scientific data and all that stuff and use all the equipment. But this one particular team, we don't really do that. We just like to go out there to experience it.
Oh
and
my
we
God,
seem to have
thank
more
you.
activity.
And that's
I've been looking for you guys.
Yes, and that's great. Jessica, I'm glad you brought that up because we got about we got about 30 seconds, and I'm glad you brought up about your team because I'm going to put a plug in really quick before we have to take our commercial break. Trey Hudson will be joining Beyond BMR this Tuesday at 9.
He's on my team.
He's on your team. I
Two
got
of
him.
them, 3 of
Is
them.
Is he single? No.
He lives in Alabama.
Yeah,
too.
I got him lined up.
Okay.
He's lined up for Tuesday, 9 o'clock in the East.
Yeah.
So we got to say goodbye to Odyssey and Here. Come subscribe to Bigfoot Mission Rob,
We'll be still here, but bye.
Texas Front Porch. And don't forget the links for Trisha for you radio viewers. Go check her out. We will be back in 5 minutes.
Four minutes to go, folks. 4 minutes. Three minutes. We're almost there. 2-minute warning, guys. 2-minute warning. One minute. 1 minute.
Hi.
Oh, look at that. We have a new guest.
We have a guest appearance for Manny here.
Oh my gosh, I
I
love
wanted you guys
this.
to meet her.
Very pretty. I like it.
Oh,
She's
what's her name?
Her name's Manny.
Manny.
Manny the macaw.
Hi, Manny.
She likes to participate. She wanted
Pretty bird.
to look at her. She's being cute.
Pretty
Aw.
bird.
Very nice. I love it. I love birds. I love the colors. And before we get started,
I
just a
wanted
couple.
to show you guys Manny and Lucy to show you that these two animals. Oh, sorry.
Oh, they love
Sorry
each
for
other.
that.
They love each other.
Too close. Okay, this is Lucy. Say hi, Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. Hi,
Okay,
Lucy.
So my animals and me, we all teleported for real. Okay.
Oh my lord!
Even the bird. Oh my gosh.
We got to get into that teleportation story. In a quick minute, couple quick announcements, everybody. Again, subscribe to Texas Front Porch on YouTube. Bigfoot Michigan Rob on YouTube. Jessica Jones, the Cryptid Huntress. Tricia Brown, subscribe to her. You can find her links on my channel. Go check her out. Also, Jessica's on Space Star Radio on the weekends, 10 in the East. Go check her out as well. And Super Chat's open if you like to donate, like what we have to do. But your money, I get it. It's Christmas time. That's fine. More importantly, like, share, and subscribe us out. We do appreciate that. We do have 8 shows per week. A lot of everything for everybody. So, Tricia, let's talk about this teleportation with your animals.
What was the same one as the one I talked about already?
They were with you? Okay, well, very good. They were with you. I did not realize they were with you.
Like Manny was on my shoulder and my dog was following along off leash. And somehow, the space of a bubble of a portal, it must be, because it wasn't like I popped in and they did and whatever. It just all happened all at once.
Wow.
So I just wanted to add that, let them.
No, that's awesome.
To show people
it's a visual.
the legitness of this trippy experience that I had,
They're very pretty.
Oh my gosh.
I love your. What type of dog is that? A husky, or what type?
She is a cattle dog mix, like a small combination of Australian Shepherd and Queensland Heeler.
Awesome.
She's 17 and a half, so she's still kicking.
Oh my gosh, that's old for a dog. She looks very healthy.
Yeah,
well, I do know this, Tricia. I already know we're doing a part 2 because I know about 1:30 you got to take a break because you have another show going on after this one.
Yeah,
busy, and I can see why. Fantastic guest, everybody. Tricia Brown, thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
amazing guest. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for leaving me your info. I saw that. I took a picture of it.
Oh, good. I was going to say, check the private message.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
I wanted to hurry up and get a picture of it in case it went away.
Okay.
You know,
Okay.
Okay, and I wanted to ask you something, Tricia. And again, I hate talking about my encounter, but you know what?
Oh,
I'm not going
please, I want to hear it. I want
I'm
to.
not going to break it down because it's long and lengthy. A lot of people have heard it,
Okay.
but you're a person that I can derive some ideas from you. Long story short, it has to do with the vibrations and the frequencies. I saw Bigfoot in 2018, June 15th,
Wow.
90 feet away from shore. This thing, I call it a thing. Again, I know you call the forest people and that. I got varying opinions. I think there's good and bad in everything because what I seen looked like it had long reddish brown hair, about 9 feet tall. I distinctly see it looked like a human being, but it looked like a human with Down syndrome. It just really, and I
Okay.
don't mean to offend anybody. That's what it looked like.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time and I were on the boat.
Mhm.
Now here's where it changes. And here's where I was terrified. And I literally went in a dark space for a while until I sought help from others.
Wow. Okay.
This thing, it all of a sudden, it raised its arms from the shoreline parallel to the shore. And then this metamorphosis took over and the eyes rolled back. It dropped its jaw 7-8 inches. His mouth went from ear to ear. Now, here's where I want to get into these vibrations, and it's
Wow.
changed. It looked like a human being to, quite frankly, what I call a demon. But now, in unison, without moving its lips,
Okay.
it bellowed out a yell, a scream, and a roar all at once. And the vibration, this is where I want your opinion on, it traveled 90 feet from shoreline and approached my boat. It struck me. I went backward. My girlfriend flipped off the boat.
What?
And during this time, Tricia,
That's insane.
during this time, I'm now seeing this thing in black and white. Time seemed to stop. It was probably a 20-second ordeal. It seemed like an hour in my mind.
Wow.
And I go to get my girlfriend from out of the boat. I can't
Mhm.
get her. And I'm shaking my head. Then all of a sudden I snapped out of it. Now I see in color. I get her in the boat. I look, now it's gone. Question to you is, people say that was infrasound. I don't buy that because what I've learned now from you, this was something of power. It felt like a blast. Like if you ever watch a video where a bomb is dropped and you see the shock waves and how everything just boom.
Yep.
I think it was kind of, I'm not going to call it a bomb. It was not, but that's kind of how I just.
No. Yeah. I know what you mean. A reverberation.
Yes. And I felt it. First of all, I felt the depth from inside the capacity of this beast, which was like 5 foot wide at least.
Wow.
But I felt the reverberation within my body.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I step backwards. She falls off. Now I'm lost in time. I'm thinking I see in black.
Wow.
and white.
That's
So
insane.
I'm
Okay. So you were breaking up there for a little
that.
bit. So you
Okay.
said that his mouth got really big.
Yes.
And then what happened?
The jaw dropped.
Yep.
You could fit a bowling ball in this mouth. And then without moving any of its facial structure, it emitted that in unison, a roar, scream, and a yell.
Okay.
And then, of course, that's where the vibration
Holy
hit
crap.
me.
Yeah, that's
And
intense.
that was intense.
Wow.
That's actually why I do this today.
I can see why that would be if, okay. Thank you for telling me that because, normally I'm not really like big into like these scary stories. And I was really protective of not wanting to know things when I was getting into this because I understand like I want to have pleasant thoughts in my mind and I want to go out and have like a magical fairyland type experience with the woods because I have since I was a kid. And so, yeah, I mean, you saw it. I mean,
no, I saw it.
You
now.
obviously truly saw some for real being.
Yes, being.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times I even pose the question, I call it Bigfoot, right? But then how can you explain
I don't know.
the metamorphosis?
I mean, that seems a little different. That's definitely a different experience than.
And I guess the point to no, it's fine. And hey, we all have different experiences.
Yes,
I personally,
exactly.
Today in 2018, I thought these things were just evil. Today, I do not believe that. I'm positive. I have positive vibes. I'm a positive guy. I don't think that it meant harm, I guess.
Well,
and
okay,
I'm
here's
thinking
something
that maybe
to think about.
it might not even be Bigfoot.
Here's something to think about. We, a lot of times, project our human stuff onto other things. I'm a dog trainer also, and people will project human emotion onto dogs. Like dogs have their own psychology. They have I teach people about dog psychology. If you follow their psychology, they're going to be like, thanks, I already know this. I already have my own language. So it's possible that this being wasn't meaning to be scary. Maybe that's just, its way that its mouth does its thing, and that it was giving you some sort of message. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying it wasn't scary, but I'm just saying we as humans, sometimes we put scariness on some things. Does that make sense?
Right.
It makes
100%.
sense. Well, it's 100% makes sense because, again, about 6 months ago, I had Robin McCrae on my show, and
Yeah.
and she can perform mind speak or telepathy with these beings.
Yeah.
And during my show, out of the blue, she knew about my encounter, but there's personal things she knew about me that I knew that she was not giving me a line. I believe her to be 100% true.
Right. Yes.
She told me that during the show that, hey, Rob, Delano says hi to you. I'm like, who the hell is Delano? I don't know no Delano. She goes, it's the Bigfoot you saw in Lake Cadillac in 2018. He said that he meant no harm to you.
His name is Rob Delano?
No, Delano. No, Rob said, hey, Rob, Delano, Matt.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So,
all right. Okay.
No,
but still, but his name is Delano. That's pretty cool.
He had a name. And
I love that.
And he said he meant no harm to you
or
your girlfriend. We happened to come across, we lost Jessica. Says you happened to come across where the babies were. And we just wanted you to be out of there and meant you no harm.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And unfortunately, the reason why I had a bad taste in my mouth, and I even hate to say this, but I'll give you the end result. Okay. 2 months later to the day, my girlfriend died.
Okay.
And I thought that the reverberations from getting hit with that, whatever it was, messed up her organs. And it comes to find out she only died of a heart attack. But she was a young girl, didn't smoke, didn't drink. So I thought that was strange. So I thought that perhaps, and that's what I was told by her mother. I didn't get any deeper into it, okay? But so that made me think differently. You know what I mean?
I can see how you might connect that. I feel like that there are so many different things to see out there, and people have different experiences.
Absolutely.
And there's a guy, I forget his name, but I think he's called like Long Island Bigfoot. Hey, there you are.
Hi, I got kicked out. Somebody kicked me out of StreamYard there. So I'm back.
This guy, Long Island, I think it's called Long Island Bigfoot. And
he's Mike from
Mike,
New
there
York.
we go. Yeah. And he has learned a lot that he passes along information that they tell him. And I feel like that, he had I think it was him that his experience first was really scary. And then he was able to realize that they were sort of teaching him some things through that experience for him to work through fear. And so I don't know. I feel that, I don't know. I don't think it's a correlation. That I think it was, maybe he was trying to help her, maybe he knew that she was having some physical conditions and was doing that to try to help. But here's the thing with color and sound therapy, with these types of energy healings, is I tell people that you have to take on new thoughts and new stuff in yourself, because I can facilitate for this not good energy to leave your body, but if you keep thinking the same thoughts, you're going to just bring the physical condition is going to continue to perpetuate itself. I'm
in the ballpark with you on that. I absolutely.
So it's possible that they were trying to help in some way. And again, that us humans, we interpret things through movies and stuff that, certain sound, correlates to scary monsters. And that when you see the big old mouth, it means something bad. But, it could be just it could be something completely positive.
It could be. I respect your opinion. I'm going to say that it wasn't positive. I don't think that. I do. I believe what I will agree that they're not all creatures and monsters. I believe that they are, as you said, A lot of them are friendly. In fact, let's get into that. And why don't you tell us
Yeah, it makes sense
a
that
couple of
he
your
was like
experiences?
letting you know there's some special, my babies are right here. And
No, and I do understand that.
Yeah.
I get it. And I'm over it today. I mean, you're not over a loss of somebody, but the encounter I'm
well,
over.
yeah, I'm so
And
sorry that
I
happened.
move forward.
That's yeah.
And which is fine, and I respect your opinion on that, but I don't
Just
think
some thoughts that just popped into my head,
mine too. That's great. We all think the same
okay.
because that's what we're here to do is learn. If you don't learn
Yes,
anything,
exactly.
it's not worth having a
Brainstorming
show.
is good to do.
And so let's move on off of that topic. 'Cause like I said, we only
Sure.
got you for another 20 minutes. Why don't you talk to some of your experiences with the tree people?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, my first, I could say if you listen to some of my other, podcast stuff, I really go into detail about how it all came to be and everything. But there's two significant early memories that popped in my mind, like as this topic started to, the interest started to happen, and so the sighting experience was a very significant one for me because, and what it was is in 2006 or 2005. I was in the mountains, foothills of the Sierras in Auburn, California. And I was mountain biking with a guy that I was seeing. And I was first. We were on like a single track trail, which is a skinnier trail. We were down inside the forest in a rolling hills type trail. And I was a couple minutes ahead of him on the trail. And very foresty in there. It was like the summertime. And I come around a left curve. And for years, I would say that was my I saw a bear story. And then as I was doing my research and listening to different things and putting it together, I started realizing, I looked back at that experience and I realized, wow. And I really think that a lot of times that because we're so connected to the physical five senses that we may see something or hear something or just like we can't wrap our mind around it. So we can't help it, but we make it be something that we do know.
Yeah.
And so what happened is imagine a fur rug that is very, very, very thick and it had a wave in it. And it went in front of me from right to left across the trail. And it was in midair. So basically, he showed me just his midsection.
Okay.
And it was like, imagine like a rectangular fur rug that was, let's say, 4 feet long and 3 feet tall, something like that. And it went really quickly in front of me. Not so close, it almost cut me off. It was like 20, 30 feet ahead of me. And there was no arms or legs or head. Okay.
Wow.
And
cool.
Then there was no sound. And then, people talk about hearing footsteps and stuff. No footsteps. There was no sound whatsoever. And then once he crossed in front of me, he was gone. There was no like, oh, I can clearly see him continuing to run up the hill, like how you would see an animal. They don't move that fast.
Yeah.
And a bear or whatever. And it was like reddish brown fur or hair or whatever. It was very, very thick, like thick.
Yeah.
Very thick. And it had a really super S curve in it, the wave. And then there was this lingering scent. It was like this hovering in the air scent of like musky, horsey, sweet-ish like scent. Like, I think it was like a pheromone. I think he was like, hey, hello, as he was showing me himself, I mean, that's pretty neat. I think the way the approach that they've been with me has been so gentle. And I really had this realization like days ago. I was out in an area where there was a pile of branches that like all of a sudden were in front of me on the trail. So I went back out there and, I've also been learning that they like music and like watching you dance and sing and whatever. So I was playing on my, my phone, the song for real, Michael Row the Boat Ashore.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm like seriously,
Good choice.
I'm like the person that connects with animals and kids. And I'm like I had years in the dental field of just talking to parents and kids and all that. So my who I am is this very kind of childlike. And so I'm like, I want to listen to this song, and it's going to raise my vibration. I'm going to feel super uplifted. And I was out there, and all of a sudden that's like, they were telling me, I had this realization that all my experiences that they've been having with me is an approach to let me know that they care about my feelings, which when you have an experience and you're having your own message, it makes sense to you. And so I've been doing my best to express it. I cried like when you're super crying, like when you're releasing. I think I was having a releasing too of crying, but it was also when you cry, you feel euphoric. It's the same feeling that is produced in you, whether you're laughing or crying. So it was an amazing experience. So yeah, so seeing my first sighting, they were letting me know right away that they're interdimensional, like right there, like that was and then that was in, like I said, 2005 or 2006. And the one before that, my memory that popped up, because, I was like, do people have experience? Like in 2019, I was like, do people have experiences with them? Like, I didn't know.
Yeah.
And this lady's like, go on Dixie Cryptid. So I started binge listening to all the stories. I was like, wow, this is fascinating. And then I had this memory of in 1996, I was out in the wilderness of Idaho mountains with a boyfriend. We were fishing along the Lochsaw River, and he left to go to the store, and I stayed. So I had like an hour to myself out there, and this experience happened super quick. I was looking around, he left. So I'm like, okay, I better look around me. I was down inside a canyon on the bank of a river that was about 40 feet across, a deep section, a slow moving river. And there was a pristine sand beach right across from me on the other side of the river. And then just really steep elevation out, just packed with trees, of pine trees. And I looked behind me just to make sure, like, there's no mountain lion going to jump on me from the bank above. And then I turn around, I see these footsteps, like a row of footsteps going from the water up into the tree line. And right when I saw that, in my mind back then, I was 26. I was not thinking Bigfoot. The only thing I could think of was bear. Those are bear footprints. And then right when I thought that, I heard a really super loud tree snap up into the trees about 50 yards kitty corner from that beach up to the left side. Snap! It just echoed through the whole little canyon there. And then I heard this like sway, like whoosh, sound of like, I don't know, swaying back and forth of tree or bushes or something. Whoosh, 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 sound. And my eyes were probably bulging out of my head as I was trying to figure out what was doing that. And then I was a little bit like, okay, is a bear going to start now coming down through the trees and come out onto the sand? So I was a little bit concerned about that. And then it was like, all of a sudden I just let it go. And it was such a nice day that day. It was amazing. I was so enjoying myself. I was so like, I can be out in the wilderness and feel completely at home. And that is, as I started putting that story together, that experience together, this is what I feel happened, is that I feel have super heightened senses. His eyesight is probably super good, was up there knowing what I'm thinking too, like a little bit like looking around and who did those prints. And I think he was saying to me, that was me. I did that. And I'm right here, not to scare me, but to just say, that's me. I did that. And when I realized that's what it was, I cried a little bit because I was like so touched, like, wow, they are letting me know that they're there, and they trust me, and they know I'm a good person, and then they feel like they can let me know that he's right there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that's
absolutely
huge for me in my life. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in the club. Yay!
That is. Yeah. And Trisha, you know what I find very interesting is that the first time I ever went out into the field to do like Sasquatch research, my first experiences were showing me that they're interdimensional beings, in my opinion. And from the very first experience that I ever had, yes, something ran up behind me and knocked my legs out from underneath me, but there was nothing there.
Wow.
Yeah, and the guys
That
were
would
watching
be
me.
quite shocking.
It was pretty shocking. It was, but it also wasn't, because like you, I've had paranormal experiences my whole life. I've seen ghosts and ETs and all sorts of stuff. So it wasn't shocking. I had volunteered to be bait.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had already known the going out there that area was active.
Yes, I was with a team, and they actually asked me to become a part of their team at the end of that weekend, because there was so much high strangeness out there. And I'm not saying I brought it, but it was just I probably had something to do with a little bit of it, but it's just an area that's known, that they'd researched for years.
Okay.
And so that happened. They knew we were going to have some experiences out there.
Wow, that's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for telling me that perspective, because if you knew that the possibility, and then you got to directly have an experience.
Yes. And that's not the only experience I had that weekend. I mean, we had UFOs and all sorts of stuff that were going on in the same area.
Really cool. I can't wait to hear more about your.
We'll have to talk some more. Yeah.
What else? I mean, so, when I said I want to know you, that was in 2019, and then quickly the vocals, the owl sounds, and then here's another thing. I heard a couple owl calls a couple days before I heard my first man yell, and I really feel like they were like, kind of like talking to each other. The one was off to my left somewhere in the woods doing a little owl call, and then there was a response call near where I heard the man yell. And I think they were like saying something like, she's right here. Okay. Something like that, because the tone was a little off. Like, I'm like, that sounds like an owl, but there's something different. So like a month later, I was camping in upstate South Carolina. And I basically, long story short, the sun was going down. It was a really nice day. The insects in the trees came out. They were super singing. It was like, you could just feel that they were so happy with the exact temperature it was and the time of the year and all that. And it was like October. And owl call, specific species of owl call in a certain point, and then its response call in the opposite point, and then a different species of owl in like basically north, south, east, west. They were calling out to each other. And I was like, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. And then the sun went down. It was like super blackout. It was like a totally dark night. And I was standing next to my truck in the campsite, like the part that's the cement driveway. And there was a downhill slope right off of the cement driveway that went really downhill to this other road way down. And then tall pine trees in this section, really tall, skinny pine trees. And all of a sudden, up in the trees, right outside my campsite, I was hearing like 4 or 5 ooh, 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 ooh sounds. And then inside them doing those vocalings, I could hear even more like primal man or primate like ooh sounds. And it started pulling me towards it. Like I felt drawn. I was like, something is happening right now. Like, they are all of a sudden right there together out in front of me in the trees above me. And then I'm like, no, because if I would have kept walking, I would have gone downhill. I would have gone farther away from them. They were way up in the trees, suddenly, all together, way up in the trees. That happened in October. And then like a month later, I was backpacking with the group in like, it was either like southern North Carolina or northern Georgia mountains, because we were out backpacking. I don't know exactly where we were, but we stopped for the night and we put a big tarp down and we all just laid on the tarp out in the air, like 20 of us. And like right when we all went to bed, all of a sudden the same owl, like vocalings right out in a tree, right out in front of me, like doing it, 4 or 5 of them. I'm like, no way. No one seemed to notice. How are they not hearing this? Was I the only one hearing it? Was it just for me? Were they just not tuned into it? Did everyone fall asleep that fast? That was pretty exciting. Some of these experiences. Then I had some rock throwings. I've had rocks throwings into the water, like right out in front of me. And then more recently in another area where I live now in Alabama, more rocks, acorns. I've heard drumming now. So, and I've heard a sound. Okay. So people talk about wood knocks, and my first thought when I was into this subject, putting it together for me, I was like, I don't know if they're like, literally, I was thinking, I'm not sure if they're wood knocks.
I think they're their mouths.
Yeah. That makes
they're
sense
clicking
to me too. Like something else is doing the sound.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, maybe, I know people have experimented with the sound of taking a giant branch and smashing it on a tree. And that sound is very different.
It is.
Okay? And so I was out there on this trail that I've been going to where the rocks have been thrown and the acorns, and I was hearing a sound on the other side of the river. I feel like they're kind of tempting. They're enticing me to go to the other side of the river, and I'm going to take my paddleboard and I'm going to go across the river. I was hearing a sound, what I think was something like a fist hitting the palm of the hand. Like it sounded like this. Like that, like 4 or 5 times.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, wow. Because it's not a woodpecker sound. Like what makes a sound like that out in the woods? There's only so many things that it could be out there. There's no houses or anything. It's just space over there. And then in the same trail systems in a totally different location, I saw at the corner of my eye, something was holding up a limb of a tree up in midair like this. Like it was growing down like this, like a big limb that had a bunch of branches on it with a bunch of leaves, and it was sticking straight out like this. I saw it at the corner of my eye. Something was holding it up in midair, and then it dropped it and it just dangled back down. And I was like, what?
Wow. Yeah. You know what I love, Trisha, what you brought up, and not enough people bring up this point about the wood knocks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When you have a bunch of people out in the forest and they're hitting trees with a baseball bat, another stick, that is not at all what the sound from an actual Sasquatch emits, right? It's like they're trying. I always laugh at some of these people, and I don't discourage anybody that does this in the research, but it's like, well, guys, they know that it's a human being doing that. And what you brought up is just so enlightening because, and again, do if you want to do it. I'll do it. I'll still do it. But I'm just saying, so refreshing to hear that, because I think some people just don't get it sometimes, and you obviously do. And
I can't help it. My life has been, full of beyond the norm that. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that my awareness, my consciousness is at a level where I'm able to see higher up, like bigger pictures and thinking outside the box. I'm a super outside the box person. So
absolutely.
Me too. I like that.
We love out of the box. I love Jessica Jones. She's out of the box. And Tricia,
big time.
You are my new friend.
Perfect.
And you know what? We got to do a part 2 because I got so much in my head to ask
you.
And I know you got things to do. I can see Jessica's getting fidgety. She got to pick up her son. This was just a fantastic show. Jessica, I got to talk to you a little later about something. Maybe later when you get your later on today.
Absolutely.
Trisha, where can we find you, Trisha? All the links are in my page. But Trisha, why don't you vocalize, so to speak, to everybody where we can find you?
Facebook is Tricia, Tricia Brown, Brown, Free Spirit. That's how you find me. It'll be a silhouette of a Sasquatch. And then, or you can email me, excellenttricia@gmail.com. Or you can go on my YouTube channel, Exploring the Paranormal with Tricia Brown, and see my silly videos where I'm out in the woods, like talking about my different UFO or ghosts experience, or, different, just documenting my experiences in my life. And if people want to learn from them or enjoy listening to them, feel free. I have my hair in all sorts of needing to have my hair colored or my hair in a bun or whatever, just different things, just out and enjoying, life, telling my stories. So those are some different ways to get in touch. Yeah.
Awesome. Again, the links are in my channel. Trisha, do me a favor, hang out back for just a minute after the show. Jessica, do what you got to do.
Okay.
And I'll talk to you a little later. Everybody, thank you.
All right, good to meet you, Jessica.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
And for Jessica Jones and Tricia Brown, BMR, we are out.